I would go to the butcher in your supermarket and have him slice you 2 steaks right in front of you instead of buying the prepackaged stuff. I would never buy prepackaged anything. It was an eviction notice. I give $10,000 of my own money. The show give $10,000. We paid the back debt. He 2 years later in the same house. The chicken nuggets weren't, it was ground up chicken bound together with protein. It wasn't even chicken. It has to be able to feed 800 people in the middle of a jungle at any point in time. Makes me feel great, makes me sleep good at night, and know they're making a difference.
If food is fuel, why are we feeding the people we ask the most of the worst fuel we make? The kids in our school, the patients in our hospital, the young men and women we send into uniform. We have engineered the food systems that surround them around cost, shelf life, and convenience, not around them. The bill comes due decades later. Mostly we pay it as a country and we call it healthcare. I'm Zac Armstrong. This is No Hype, Just Standards. My guest today is Chef Robert Irvine. If you have a television, you know him from Restaurant Impossible. 22 seasons, more than 300 episodes of walking into failing restaurants and rebuilding them in 2 days. If you have a son or daughter in the military, you know his name from the Robert Irvine Foundation and the work he has done for the veteran community for years. If you've ever picked up a high-protein bar at a gas station, there's a good chance he carried his name. He is also a former Royal Navy cook. And that piece of his story matters for today's conversation than most people realize. I asked Robert here because of what he has spent the last 3 years doing, working unpaid as a special consultant to the United States Army. He's been inside the dining facilities at Fort Hood and Fort Lee, rebuilding how the people who defend this country actually get fed. In April, he took the argument national as the inaugural guest on the Secretary Kennedy podcast. The case he made there is the one I think about every day on this show. The food system failing our troops is the same one failing our kids in schools, our parents in the hospitals, and our chronically ill country. The fix is upstream of medicine. And if you're new here, hit the follow. If you've been here for a while, share this with someone you know who is fueling someone else, whether it is a child, a parent, a unit, or a patient. Let's get into this. Hey, Robert, thank you for joining us this morning. What part of the world are you joining us from?
I'm actually just got back from Scotland. I'm in Tampa and Colorado tomorrow.
Oh, nice. A little bit different temperatures there.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So most people listening are going to know you from Restaurant Impossible. But can you take us back? You know, where did you grow up? What was kind of the house like, the food, inspiration there?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a typical poor family in England. Joined the Sea Cadets at the age of 11. My father was a soldier in the army. My brother was in the army. I joined the Sea Cadets at 11. Didn't want to join the army. I was in a home economics class at the age of 11 because there was 30 girls and me, and I thought I might get a girlfriend. Yeah. I love food, and here I am at 6 years old still doing the same thing. Served in the Navy for many years. Aboard various warships in the Falklands, HMS Apollo, Royal Yacht Britannia, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and all the other places that take you on your journey, as you well know in the military, that you don't know until you get in the military.
Yeah, then you know. You don't know until you know. Was there a person, anybody early in your life, a grandparent, a friend, teacher, that kind of maybe turned you on to food?
No, my mother was a terrible cook. I actually wrote a book, one of my first books of several, and I put a chapter in there about her, how bad she was. I had to tell her that, oh, by the way, I wrote in this book, and she said, I'm so proud of you. I said, well, it's really about you and how terrible a cook you were. And she said, well, that's the way your dad liked the food. I said, well, drinking vegetables through a straw is not exactly healthy.
No, not most of the time. And so you came up through the Royal Navy, as you just mentioned. I don't feel like most Americans would even know that. Can you kind of tell us like how that happened? You know, how old were you? What was kind of the career path there?
I was not a good kid at school. I loved home economics. I loved history. I loved woodwork and loved sports. I played rugby, football, or soccer to you. Badminton. I was good at all sports and good at woodwork, great at history. They're the only things I really enjoyed in home economics. So I rarely went to school. My mother would go to work in the morning to catch a bus. I would wave, and
Yeah.
and I would double back and drink my dad's beer with friends until one day she poured me. And it was the demise of Robert Irvine. She marched me
Yeah.
down through an office at the age of 15 years old, 15 and a half years old. I took the NAMIT test, which is a naval arithmetic and math test. Five being the lowest, one being the highest. I got 5.5. He said to me, quote unquote, "Congratulations, Sonny, you're in the Majesty's Royal Navy and you're going to be a cook." To which my reply was, "Woohoo, awesome," because that's what I wanted to do
Yeah.
anyway. Little did I
Right.
know that cooking was very different to what I was used to at school.
Oh man, anybody who's ever been in a Navy galley would understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for you. So, so what was something that you maybe took from those naval years that you've carried through with you?
I can tell you point blank, everything that I do now is based on the service. Everything.
Sure, I assumed. Yeah.
Discipline, the camaraderie, the loyalty, the friendship, the seriousness, the standard operating procedures, the way we do things, the management structure, meaning the leadership structure, everything that I learned in Her Majesty's Royal Navy is to me, with me still to this day in everything I do, everything. And we've got, my goodness, we have 19, 20 companies with a lot of people, from food to drones to humanoids to, you just name the gambit, we've got it. And that's successful because of those lessons I learned in the military, not because of what I learned out. Yes, you learn things in life, but I think the military grounds you in such a way that you don't allow others to step on you, because that's not how the military is. There are some bad eggs in there, of course there are. But on the outside world, somebody wants your job, they're going to trample all over you. In the inside world, you don't get that. In the military world. Very rarely.
No. It's take care of each other. Your brother is just as important than mission, right? People mission. When you walk into for those that don't know, you're now helping, the Army come up with a better food system, hospitals, children, schools. So when you walk into a dining facility now on a military base, is there anything that flashes back for you?
Everything. Look, first of all, I'm a highly specialized expert in what I do for the Joint Force. So that's not just the Army. The Army was the biggest one to take the plunge 3 years ago with Chris Mohan, Michelle Donahue was a 2-star, now a 3-star, and Randy George, who was the chief of the Army at that time, which I'd known for many years, called me into his office in the Pentagon where we have a restaurant and said, "Look, I want to do this. I want this thing to be changed." And I said, "Well, you're going to have to be my battle buddy. You're going to take a lot of bullets to me. I'm going to piss a lot of people off." And I did, and I am still, one thing I can't abide is laziness. And again, that's a military thing, right?
Right.
We do things because it's easy. No, we don't. We train repetitively so we don't have to think about it when it gets hard.
Right.
And I think
nature.
Exactly. And I think that's my disregard for the legislative system in our military and schools in our military, by the way, and prisons and schools on the outside that have led me on this crusade for 23 years to change what I believe is just laziness, right? Buying food the wrong way. Why are we buying food for a piece of salmon at $9.24 when I can buy it fresh for $2? Why are we using these people to put tariffs on top? The whole world. Look, I'm in a fight with the whole world. Ecosystem, the DLAs. I'm dealing with the highest level of national security, meaning bureaucracy, but also national security, because food is national security, whether we like it or not. The 13 ships, 14 ships that are off the coast of Iran right now, whether we've made a peace deal or not, still have to be fed. The people in Germany and on the coast of Poland and everywhere I go every week still have to be fed. And we're asking them to be AAA athletes, and we're not giving them. Yes, we give them bullets and we give them rifles, and but we don't treat them like adults. We don't give them what they need to succeed.
No, underfuel them for sure.
And that's my fight.
That's a big one, and one that I would love that I joining you on a smaller scale for sure, but definitely look up to. For someone, to go from the Navy, from the Royal Navy to Restaurant Impossible, that's not exactly a linear line. How did that kind of unfold for you?
Well, I came out the Navy, didn't know what to do, went into a hotel, played soccer for a short amount of time. I was not very good at it, by the way, but played in Warsaw. But I was working in the hotel that the club owned as a chef. Then I got bored of that because it wasn't fast-paced enough for me. I went to a cruise ship in America, on the coast of America, in Miami, and became an executive. No, I became a sous chef, my first contract, then became executive sous chef, then chef, running my own ship. Then I went to another company around the world sailing as executive chef. And then went to Jamaica for a while, put 2 hotels together, then got a call from a headhunter to run Trump Taj Mahal, Atlantic City, which is Trump's casino. He had 4 of them. I became the number 2 there. And I said to Donald Trump himself, if I'm not number 1 within a year, I'm out of here. I stayed a long time, made him a lot of money. He made me a lot of money. And we changed the way we purchased food, wine, products, by buying futures on all of those things that nobody understood at that time.
Right.
Military taught me that a long, long time ago. And yet we don't do that here in the military, which is phenomenally crazy to me. The amount of money we spend, and yet we don't do that. So my upbringing, I'm 60 years old. I've been in charge of things since I was 30 and making a lot of money. I mean, my base pay was $250,000 with $4.5 million bonus.
Yeah. That's no small chunk.
Which is kind of funny when you think about it. It's not money that excites me. It's the challenge of fixing something. In this case, it's the military feeding and DOWIA schools, 179 of them at the moment, which has been set in place since 1933 because somebody back in 1933 decided that the Department of Education should run military feeding. Since, that was way back before my time. We got legislative change for the Army, which is now looking at all the joint force. And we save hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars, yet giving better nutrition cooked to order, just like you would get in a restaurant or a AAA school.
Right. It's kind of a loop and system that's broken, and I'm glad someone like you.
Nobody's brave enough to take it on because they wear a uniform. And there was levels of leadership in those uniforms, and you well know this. Yes. 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, secretaries, Secretary of Defense is, and so on and so on and so on. I don't wear a uniform. I don't get paid. What they do, they pay me $1. And I like the fight because I'll fight for something I believe in, and I know I can change, and I've proven that in the last 6 bases that we've changed. I was in Germany a couple of weeks ago looking at Wiesbaden, which will change in October, and at the school system. And then last week at Fort Bragg in their 7 schools, looking how do we change that and standardize the menu to get better food for kids that they want to eat, and not just because
they're already dealing with a lot too, right? Deployed
somebody just said, we're going to put, you got to eat a half a cup of boiled broccoli a day. Who came up with that? It's just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, so I think a good question here is, like you just said, I think most people know you from the TV, protein bars. Like you said, you have 1921, collaborations right now. What made you decide to pick this fight?
For 23 years, I've been on this journey with the USO. You quite mentioned the shirt. Mike Linnington's taken over there, doing an amazing job. Armed Forces, Entertainment, Fab. Is doing an amazing job. I traveled the globe for the last 23 years, or 23 and a half years and seen some of the worst slop. And that's the best way to describe it. On warships, forward operating bases, around the globe, Afghanistan, Iraq, Poland, Spain, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, et cetera, et cetera. And being disheartened that, we can do better for our servicemen and women and their families, by the way. I'll get into that piece in a minute. That's a separate piece. But I felt, and every chairman, every secretary, the last 4 or 5, I've had these conversations. I mean, conversations now, but it's actually happening. 3 years ago, we changed or went into change legislation. Myself, Chief of the Army, a whole bunch of JAG folks, AMC, Army Materials Command, G4, and I wrote the RFP with them people for their service of these time facilities. Meaning, instead of folks coming in and cooking food and putting it in a hot box at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then nobody coming in, throwing away at 2 o'clock, and still getting paid, the full amount and not serving anybody, was ridiculous. So, Randy George and these other folks I've mentioned said, hey, how can we do this? I took them to Columbia University in upstate New York, 95% retention rate from year 1 to year 5 in their studies, average age, same as military. But the difference being there are 2 miles from any food in anywhere, any direction in New York City, and the military is not like that. And yet they had 95% retention. No refrigeration. So food come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, got distributed, cooked, served. Next day, 2 o'clock, same thing. For less money than we serve our service members. So that was the fight. I took 60 of them up there. I did the first 3 visits, and I said, hey, we changed this 10 years ago. Look at it. You do your own work. You figure it out and let me know when you want. And they came back to me and said, how fast can we go? And we're going like an F-18 right now.
There you go. I like the reference there too. What is something maybe you've seen or, heard from a service member that you just can't unhear or unsee?
I think, look, for years and years, and again, I keep referring because you were in the military, people were not the forefront of thought in the military up until 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. Everybody thought about it, but they didn't do anything about it. Randy George was the first person. Dan Driscoll, the Zac Army, Sec War, were the first people to say, you know what, we got to take care of people. Because they're the people fighting the wars, flying the jets, doing the tanks, and, and for me, we can't go fast enough. If we look at the bids, a new bid comes out this week for the next tranche of restaurants. So we have right now with training bases and regular bases, Fort Carson, which I'm at tomorrow, Fort Hood. So Fort Carson will have 2 new dam facilities. They got 1 open, 1's being built now. Fort Hood, same thing, 1 open, 1's being finished now. Fort Riley, Fort Bragg is next. And I'm going to try and do this 7 to 9 schools at the same time. That's in the next 8 weeks. So we're taking 40 or 50-year-old buildings and facelifting them, literally. The total amount of dining facilities in the Army is about 180. I think we can lose half of them just by the service standards of quickness of service through the ones we're rebuilding.
Yeah, the efficiency levels. Just
the efficiency, putting people through the time. And if I tell you we put 1,000 people through Fort Lee, which was a $600,000 conversion. I'm looking at West Point right now as we speak. All those kind of things. I put 1,000 people through an old base with a $600,000 facelift in 1 minute and 38 seconds. Food was fresh from each station. You go from 1 station to 7, and you pick up fresh food being not dumped and stirred from a hot table or a bag. 1 minute and 38 seconds. Where's that ever been done before? I can tell you, nowhere.
No. The microwave.
Yeah. And it's really exciting to see the soldiers' feedback. Look, it's a great if Robert Irvine or General Mohan or General, Donahue says, "Oh, we're doing a great job." It's not us. It's when the soldiers tell you, "Oh, it's in my $39." We used to give you $5 for breakfast, $7 for lunch, and whatever for dinner. And if you didn't go for breakfast, we still take your money out of your pay, and then you would have to go and buy it. Well, now they're using that full $39, and it's almost like we can literally, every soldier personally, give them a meal plan. It's incredible, the technology and how we've managed to do that with great partners. Like, it's not Robert Irvine cooking, it's Robert Irvine with a baseball bat making sure you do what I'm telling you to do. And I love baseball bat.
But, it's funny you say that. Military Times called you the Bat. Did that come from anybody or you, or how did that come about?
Well, I threatened. I threatened the CEO of a certain company, if he didn't hold his bargain to the RFP, I would beat him with a baseball bat.
That sounds something like I would say. So
not very good in the public eye, but I meant what I said, because at the end of the day, the 2.7 million active duty men and women deserve the best we can give them, the best guns, planes, submarines, ships, uniforms, etc., etc.
Fuel to feed them.
And nutrition is, look, we can spend all this money on H2F, and build new gyms for SEAL teams. But if they don't have dining facilities, Columbus Air Force Base, 2/3 of our pilots, Air Force pilots go through. There's not one dining facility on there. They've just opened, thanks to my visit, a grab and go, because I went to the Secretary of Air Force, Undersecretary of Air Force, and said it's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fight that, like, many people won't see, but I don't think they understand. I understand, but to know what that impact can have on people is huge. And so, like, let's talk about that. 42 Bistro just opened in February. What does a soldier see when he walks in now? What is on the line that has been not on the line, for the last few years?
Well, number one, it's a $4 million renovation. When the soldier walks in there, it's light, it's bright, it's wooden floors, it's stations, it's technology where you can either use your phone to order something ahead of time from the stations, 8 stations. You can use your phone, or you can use the tablets on the walls. By the time you put it in, it's coming offline cooked in front of you. And yet, if you think we were doing 0 through 4, I can give you the number 0, and we're doing 4,000, 5,000 people through there for dinner alone. And Fort Carson's even more than that. And we opened that 4 weeks ago. So the people are utilizing their money, getting there. Fort Hood has 8 people making protein shakes continually, 8 people. And you make a shake for just under $5, 25 grams of protein, as is standard. And then you can add spinach and you can add anything you want to it, right? It's just like going into a AAA school of an athlete. It's bright, it's well lit, it's clean, it's healthy, it's nutritious. Each, depending on where the base is, we have one station that is locally grown food from the farmers. So we don't really put bases and people there. We're growing we're buying from the local economy, a farmer.
More impressive. Yeah.
Which to me, mushrooms, lettuces, all these things from Fort Hood, which they'd never seen before, right? And that station revolves. There's 3,000 items. Think about that. And yet,
that's a lot.
We are 26% below average on the cost of a plate of food because we're buying fresh food.
And it's not processed, and we're giving the people the fuel, and then you're giving back to the local economy. That's about as good as you can get. How many people are actually like helping maintain that food? And are these soldiers or are they?
So these are all outside contractors. The one problem we have in all force, across the joint force, everybody wants to be a pilot. Everybody wants to be a surgeon. Everybody wants to be a tanker or whatever. They don't want to be cooks because, the grind is 18 hours a day. It's a grind, 18 hours a day, and you never off, and you get disgruntled when the food doesn't come in. And so what the Army and I discussed 3 years ago was, let's take the Golf 92s that we have. Let's train them for forward operating. When they come back from forward operating, which I'm working on right now as we speak, we put them back in school so they can catch up on the technology that's used sous vide and whatnot in the outside world of food. So when they do leave, they're already ahead of the game.
Right.
Because right now we're so far behind. So we don't have the manpower to be able to cook in continental US. We don't. And we're looking at the same in Europe. So Wiesbaden, I was there a couple of weeks ago with Chris Donahue, a 4-star out there. We started that project in October. It'll be open by probably just after Christmas. Once you have people that want to do great things, but nobody wants to be the great cook, which I think is sad. But with the technology of value-added product now, and if you think, what does that mean? Think of Uncle Ben's that said boiling the bag in rice, right? It's the same kind of idea, but way more technology-driven, because in every spoonful of mashed potato in that bag that I boil and open, there's more nutrients in that bag than there is in a potato, because we make sure they're in there per scoop. And the same with stews and chicken and all this other stuff, poached eggs. And there's so many things that can happen that save on labor. So we save on buying fresh food. We save on the tariffs on the food from DLA. We save on the waste because we don't cook what we don't need. We cook how we do, like a restaurant. When you walk in a restaurant, you read a menu, you order, and when we cook it, we don't cook it before. That's how we make money. So we've done the same thing. We've taken all the old practices out, and thanks to the Secretary of Education, she gave me the Sec Army, but me too, the ability not to use the Randolph Shepard Act, which is destroying the food in our military.
Yeah. So when you work efficiently, more cost effectively as well, hard to say no to that, especially when you're improving it.
At Fort Jackson, they said, "Oh, we don't." They originally didn't want to do it.
Of course, people don't like change.
Because they don't like change. But I said, just give me, and General Kelly, a 1-star in charge of Fort Jackson, a training base at that time, said, "Robert, I'm going to give you the space. Just prove to me it works. Here's 1.4 million. In 4 months, I got 1.4 million back, and it's still growing every day, and we're a year and 8 months into it."
Yeah, and I think people don't understand that. Like, when you work smarter and more effectively, not just in this, but in all things in life, it usually improves it. We discount things like food or things like that. And you've said it yourself. Food helps improve sleep, cognitive repair, recovery, all these things. What in our food is actually helping in there that people maybe not realize?
Well, I think that, look, 5 years ago, the vitamins and minerals and whatnot that were in the soil is not there anymore. We've lost all that. So a tomato 5 years ago was better than tomato is today, for sure. Proven. That's not Robert Irvine saying. That's just proven. Giving healthy, nutritious food, meaning the mix of food. I can tell you every day what's sold in every place, at what time, in 15-minute increments. So when people say, "Oh, data, show me data," I've got more data than your planes have, right? So with that data, I've gone one step further, because it's great if I can feed you on a base, but then you have to go home. And E1 through 4 are food insecure in our military. Period. They don't make enough money to put. They do.
No, they don't.
There's no financial literacy, which I'm taking that on as well. And there's another story you'll hear about in a couple of weeks. They buy a TV, they buy a car, and yet they don't feed themselves.
Oh, they do McDonald's and cheap stuff.
And all the garbage in, garbage out. And Pete Hegseth said this. Look, we're going to be the best military in the world. Whether you like him or you don't like him, that's irrelevant to me. He's right. We have to be the best military in the world, the best at what we do, because our adversaries, China, Russia, Iran, and all these other people, are not going to stop building bombs. And you saw India was delivered the first submarine yesterday from China. And even though India is a partner of ours, Chinese made the submarine. So for me, I then look at, which I'm working on now, it's in front of the president and the whole team, the SNAP benefits. So SNAP benefits, supplementary nutritional for low-income families. And I've said, okay, well, what about the SMART food program for our military, E1 through 4? It's like SNAP, the same thing. Here's $1,200 on your phone. We're not giving you 3-day-old food. You know, we're not putting a label on it. It was going to go out of date so you get it cheap. We're giving you real food. If you think that major companies, I won't name them, but the biggest throws away $22 billion worth of food a year. And we till, as a country, we have farmers farm, and then we till the food, meaning go back into the ground again, and we pay them again. 44% of the food we grow gets wasted. I'm saying we can use AI. We have the data. We have the technology. Right now, to say, okay, we've got in Idaho X amount of potatoes. Let's move it to Kentucky. Let's process it and sell it instead of tilling it. And you're still getting paid. Just like if you think of Priceline.com, they're my partners, the owners who started that, using AI and predicting the growth because we know what's grown. It's just like predicting a fleet of F-18s. We know the serial number of 1 through 10. We know when the maintenance happens. We know when the O-rings go. We know when the end. You know, it's the same concept. We know when the food needs to be done and harvested, and we're working with major retailers right now. I am to say, okay, we've got the food piece in the military, or the next couple of years will be fixed. My schools will be fixed in the military, the weird schools. Now let's attack the big schools, because the systems are so disorganized in the way they purchase, the way they claw back money. Some get federal grants, some get private money, some get they're so
convoluted
and just crazy. The weird schools are easy because under 76 of them, it's one system. I can change it, prove it, like I did Fort Jackson. I'm working with the Marine Corps right now, and the Navy and the Air Force. So I believe that once we get these next couple open, it will be adopted by the whole Fourth of Joint Force.
That's great, and that'll be a hell of a goal there. And you talked about this to Secretary Kennedy, on his podcast in April when you talked about the foods at our prison and our schools. And all that. What are we actually in these foods that we were feeding our kids or our patients, or
So it's not even food. And that's the funny part. I went to Wiesbaden a couple of weeks ago, and I went to specifically to look at a school and some other things. But the chicken nuggets weren't. It was ground up chicken bound together with protein. It wasn't even chicken. And I said, okay. And then you serve this sauce. It's like having a ramen noodle right on a ship. There's 1,500 milligrams of sodium in that, with our daily intake supposed to be 600. So it's blown away. And the same with what's put in these chicken nuggets for the kids. And burgers, pre-cooked burgers. We have people in these schools that we pay $20 or $30 an hour to cook. And yet they open a box, put it in an oven, on a tray, put it in the oven, they serve it. I took over a dining facility. I had 700 kids. I cooked for the kids, and they ate everything. And it was nothing processed. It was all fresh. and they were amazed that kids would eat, roasted broccoli with onions. Why wouldn't they? As opposed to broccoli and a half a cup of peppers that were raw, by the way. Who's going to eat that? It's just so I have double fight with the purchasing of the food for our military, and then I have a fight with, I don't tell a general how to run his military. Never would. It's not my world. Don't tell me how to run restaurants, because you don't know how to do it. So stick in your lane. And I'm very lucky. I've got people that are amazing that I talk to daily that understand my mind process
and how you be the bat
and how the civilian world works.
Yeah, and it lets you be the bat, right? And that's something that is needed. I would say that most people listening to this, what we're talking about is very much at scale. And from the people listening, they're most individuals. If they go to the grocery store and they go home to cook tonight, what are things that they should be cooking?
Well, look, nobody's asking you, and there's one thing I will tell you: I don't want you to be a rabbit and run about and eat salad, because I think that's absolutely preposterous. There is everything in moderation, right? Nowadays, the products that we can buy, I would be looking at when you buy chicken breast or a whole chicken, and I would say a whole chicken and break it down rather than buying the breast and the legs or thighs, because most of this is sold on weight. So that chicken that you buy as a chicken breast already has a pump in it of saline water. They've already pumped it. So when you get it, it's probably 600 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium already in it. And then you season it, right? But you don't need to. It's already done. I would say look at the whole muscle meat, the whole chicken, and learn. There's videos. If I can do it, I can do it in my sleep with one hand tied behind my back and no knife. I literally do it on a show where I show you how to break down chicken with your fingers.
Yeah.
No knife. And it's so easy because they're like us, they have joints. It's so easy I would say, always be looking at the whole chicken instead of the pieces of chicken. Learn how to break it down. You will be so amazed how simple it is. There are 24,000 recipes online, if you Google Robert Irvine, of broccoli and carrots and how do you get your kids interested? And this is the thing, we're starting to put gardens in schools where kids understand where fruit and vegetables come from. So they start to experiment with them, having grown them. Part of ownership is a great thing for kids, and they're intrigued by how it grows. That's why I'm looking at Dovia schools, doing those things with the schools, putting gardens in them. There's a beautiful one in New Orleans that Emerald Lagasse put in as a gift for a Dovia school. I'm looking to do that in all of them.
That's amazing.
Where we can put a nutritionist, where we can put a gardener, that becomes part of the curriculum. So when you grow up, unlike me in England that grew up in, a very poor building,
drinking beer,
now I understand food.
Right.
And if you can understand it and start to like this stuff that, people forget about taste buds. You and I'm a little older than you, but as we get older, our taste buds, we lose them or we gain them as we're younger. If you're 4 years old and you don't like salt, by the time you're 6, you will. Because
your palate changes.
Changing. So I think people should be looking at different ways. Look, the vegetables are never going to change. Tomato, broccoli, carrot, they're always the same. The method of cooking them. And by the way, the best method of any vegetable is to slice it up, turn the oven on at 350, a little olive oil. I use grapeseed oil, a little sea salt, pepper, roast it till it's golden brown. And I tell you, your kids will go nuts. I've done a test with my own kids, and by one's 27, one's 25 now. One's a criminal lawyer, one's a pediatric speed pathologist in Johns Hopkins. And I would take them to the store, and the kids, I would let them pick out X amount of colored vegetables, X amount of green vegetables, come home, blindfold them, let them taste the product when it was raw. Guess what it was? If they got it right, it was 25 cents for getting it right. That
was before inflation.
Yeah. And then I would cook. Then I would cook the vegetable, and they would have a completely different concept of that vegetable. And my kids never ate, and this is a true story, my kids never ate McDonald's, chicken nuggets, nothing like that. Because I was a chef at 3-star Michelin restaurants. I took my 6-month-old daughter to Le Bec Fin, by the way, and George Perrier pureed apples for her. I mean, so I think it's the same as base is. Schools, home. When you start kids to enjoy and have fun with a process,
they'll enjoy it.
They'll do it. Yeah. But if you don't give them the opportunity, and this is our problem right now in our military, we get everybody from everywhere, and it's great because we've got the enlistment, but they've come from backgrounds like me where they don't know what food is, they don't know what financial literacy is, they don't know, You don't spend your first paycheck on a 100-inch TV or a car, because that's what happens.
No, you go to an army base. There's used car sales like half a mile off base, and then same day payday loans. Right? There's all these.
It's crazy. So mine's just educate and I mean, fortunate enough to serve, but have a
Continue
foundation.
to serve. I would say. I would say a step further. You're continuing to serve.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of like talking about looking, if somebody goes to the grocery store and they look at that label, what are 3-4 things that you say you need to look at that?
If it's a chicken something, the first ingredient better be chicken. One of the things I find label, and now there's apps now on these phones, and my wife is the worst at it, right? Because she's a health freak. She's a wrestler or was a wrestler. Now she does her own TV stuff, but she will literally go up to her with this app, look at the label, and like, no, we can't have that. Can't have that. One thing you'll find on labels, the FDA does not control all the labels on food.
No, nor supplements.
All pills and products, and
Nope.
they don't. So, for example, we talk about GMO, which basically chews your food up and spits out before you do. So think about chicken soup, well, that's what it does.
I know it's just the way you put it,
right? If you think about nor soup base, which is used in every Chinese restaurant in the world, by the way, not just Chinese, but Italy and Italian and whatnot. There is stuff in there that is not on the label because it's hidden under a different name. Mm-hmm. And they get away with that. It says no added MSG. It's already in there.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely look at these apps that you can find where you just point at a label that tells you exactly what's in it. And my wife does it every day. Pick, even when you go to pick beef and things at supermarkets, there's been this huge movement of when you go to I won't name names because I don't want a lawsuit, but they put steak sliced and they put gas into them to keep them looking fresh.
Yes.
Plastic wrap them. Then when you take them off, they're bad, but they look beautiful. Right. So I would go to the butcher in your supermarket and have him slice you two steaks right in front of you. Right. Instead of buying the prepackaged stuff. I will never buy prepackaged anything. Okay. I want to see it. Yep. That's what I want. Buy it. I don't buy prepackaged carrots, and I pick the carrots and I pick the tomatoes and I pick the onions. I pick the lemons.
So talking about picking, for the person listening, what's a fight that they should pick right now in their kitchen to help their family for the next, not now, but 20 years from now?
I would say the biggest lesson I can give anybody at home, single guy, girl, mother, whatever, plan a menu. Look, we have plenty of time. People say, there's not enough time in the day. I'm on the phone from morning, noon till 9 o'clock at night, but I still do it. And I travel 345 days a year. On a Sunday, I write out a menu on a piece of paper and then make a shopping list. I go shopping on a Sunday. I prep the stuff for the next week and I finish it. It should take, for a family of 4, it should take 20 minutes to finish a meal when you come home from swim practice, dance practice, because it's all prepped. Everything is, use these weekends to get the family involved to help you prep. Get the kids to help you prep. Get your husband to help you prep. My wife and I, we do the same thing. My sister in Australia spends one day on a Sunday making ginger shots and all this for her husband's a senior enlisted to the Australian Defence Force. They make their meals every Sunday till next Sunday. The same as what we do, except I travel with mine. I mean, you got to think about 20 years from now, and I say this all the time. It's great when you're a 19, 20-year-old kid because you feel you're untouchable, you can fly, you can do anything. When you get to 40 and you've done 20 years in the military, then all of a sudden you're retiring, or 30 years, whatever, then you start to feel aches and pains. And then that next 20 years with the VA, it costs us another $10 million just for you to keep you healthy. It costs us $10.2 billion in 1.4 million active duty men and women today, as we talk, on obesity-driven disease, pills and potions.
Yeah.
I'm saying, give me the $3 billion, I'll save you $7 billion, and I'll fix the problem.
And get rid of those potions. I like that. We become a society that's reactive in our healthcare, not preventative, and that's something I believe you're talking about too.
Yeah.
So I greatly appreciate this. Before we go, I like to do something called rapid fire. I ask you a few questions, and it's supposed to be no thought, just kind of the first thing that comes to your mind of the answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right. UK versus American food. Who's better?
U.S.
All right. Foods you've never
Although I
eaten.
will tell you, hang on, it's fast, I know, but I will tell you, the top 10 restaurants are in London right now in the world. They just happen to be French.
Okay. I believe that. What are some foods you've never eaten? What are they and why?
The things I won't eat up until recently was cinnamon, because I didn't like the taste of it. I grew up in Europe.
Sure.
And what you use here as cinnamon here is called cassia. It has pepper. Real cinnamon rolled up from Sri Lanka is completely different. And until I did a TV show in Sri Lanka, I didn't realize that. Now I'll eat Sri Lankan cinnamon, but I won't eat cassia, American cinnamon. I won't eat red peppers because they alter the flavor of the mouth. So if I cook with red peppers, capsicums, I have to add some kind of apple juice to sweeten it so that it doesn't change the palate of the food I'm trying to cook.
Okay. That makes sense. What's one ingredient you would outlaw right now on every military base?
Oh my God. Soda, energy drinks, all the things that everybody, Viagra. Now you're laughing. Why do I say Viagra? You're laughing. I like this. Now I'm going to teach you.
Let's go. I'm all ears.
So Viagra was originally, and Cialis were made for asthmatics, correct?
Yes.
You take a can of C4, Monster Energy, Rippets, right? And the trend now is to take 5 milligrams of Cialis or Viagra to work out, not for sex, to work out because you get a good pump because they're vascular. Yeah. But what it does, if you put the two together and you have a weak heart, it blows the heart out. Yeah. Literally. So there are two things I have to get rid of.
I did not know that. Thank you. That's actually did not know that. And I have not heard of somebody working out on Viagra yet.
I can tell you, we lost some people 3 weeks ago because of that, 26-year-olds.
That I believe. We do a lot of dumb things in this world. And that's, you hear it from a buddy and then that's word of mouth.
Yeah.
Speaking about that, who would survive longer? A Navy line chef or a Michelin chef?
A Navy chef. How's that?
What's the
star chef is used to doing things so fine, and it takes them an hour to cut a potato, right? Because that's their world. A Navy chef or an Army chef or an airport has to be able to feed 800 people in the middle of a jungle at any point in time. A Michelin star chef could never do that. I watched Gordon Ramsay try and do it, and he couldn't do it.
Calling Gordon out, I love it. What's the best meal you ever cooked in uniform?
I'm going to reverse the question on you because it's not the best thing I ever cooked in uniform, because I've cooked for every head of state in the free world and every serviceman, wherever. The excitement for me of cooking is the people I cook for in the uniform. And I'll give you one example why I say that. In Frontenac in Afghanistan, on the border of Pakistan, I went there, got caught under fire, RPG fire, as the helo landed. Everybody went to do their job. I found a barbecue, steaks and lobster in a refrigerator. I cooked them. 20 minutes later, the guys came back, ate it. There was no concrete. There was no bags. There was nothing, because we blew the place up before 2 weeks. It's the people who you cook for, and it can be anything. It can be a hot dog, although I don't like that, but chicken. It's the thing that you put the most energy into because you truly believe that it's going to make a difference in that person that you're eating in their life at that moment.
Yeah. what we give back to others and what it gives back to us in return is usually awfully tenfold, and I feel the same about that.
Yeah.
Here's one as a Navy guy. Here's a question for you: Navy or Army? Which one's better?
Two different jobs.
Dodging it.
Two
I
different
like.
jobs.
I know they are. I just the camaraderie as well as the rivalry.
Yeah. I love this shit talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the first chef whose advice changed your career?
I'd say the first chief, and by the way, he wasn't a chef. He was a chief in my training platoon who was a WAFU, an air guy, an air chief mechanic, who told me that I wasn't a team player when I was a young kid in training. And this guy had it out for me from day one. And my uniform was great because I was in the Sea Cadets at 11 years old. I've been to every military base, Marine base. My kit was great. My bed was great. There was nothing. And he said to me one day, I'm going to kick out the Navy because you're not a good team player. Meaning the other 8 people in my dorm, by the way, all university students. I was a kid from nowhere. I got up at 2:00 in the morning, tipped them out of bed, showed them how to clean and bone their boots with the back of a toothbrush, how to shine their boots, how to make the kit, how to make the beds. And I did it for the first 8-9 days. And then they got wise to me being at 2:00 in the morning and they were up ready for me. But it was him. He taught me what team really meant. And I've never forgot that lesson. So
That's amazing.
it was not a chef. It was an air mechanic. I don't even know if he's still alive, but he made the biggest impact on me learning what leadership truly looks like.
That's how we often don't think about the ripple effects we cause in life when we do small things in life and how it can affect the world. Look at you. Is there any restaurant impossible turnaround that like sticks in your mind as something that was impactful?
I've got 370 of them. I mean, I've got one that was $1.1 million in debt in Cerritos, California, a mother, daughter, and granddaughter. They're now doing, as of last week, $3.4 million a year. And it looks like I did it yesterday. That was 9 years ago. I've got one in New Hampshire. She was $300,000 in debt. It's called the Covered Bridge. Her and her husband divorced, but still had to work together to get a mortgage of $300,000 on the restaurant. Day 2, I told them, one of you's got to go. And I had to literally ratify a letter and take all the debt off one to get to the other one. The girl did it. I stuck with her. Does over $3 million a year. I just was with her last week, killing it. And then there's one there's one very personal to me. A young 300-pound autistic kid, one of very few people in the world with a rare genetic disease. They found me at a restaurant. I fixed the restaurant. The mother gave me a paper when I was about to give her a restaurant, and it was an eviction notice of her house. I called my producer, who was not there on set. I said, hey, just say yes, live on TV, and you can watch it. LJ was his name. It was an eviction notice. I give $10,000 of my own money. The show give $10,000. We paid the back debt. He died 2 years later in the same house. They sold the restaurant, which was a success because they got their money back. But he's in my show that travels the globe, my live show. There's a segment in there specifically for him because he changed my life.
It's funny how it is, right? When we do for others and what it always gives back to us. I preach that all the time, and I believe with all my heart. I really do. And it's super impactful for me. And I'll get in that in just one more second, but I have 2 more questions for you. One is my own because I love your protein bars selfishly. What's your favorite flavor?
Oh, I love mint, chocolate mint. We've just got some new coming out right now. But the first one I actually made, and nobody knows this, by the way, first one I made was a peanut caramel. Okay. But we could never figure out how to sheet caramel because it's a hot sugar. It's not possible. It took me 4 years to develop and create a machine to be able to do that. So I had 4 bars out before that first bar ever came out. There's awesome. There's a peanut butter one, but it wasn't the first one I designed. It was peanut and caramel.
That's amazing. I get them almost every week from Costco, so it's very important to me as well.
That money goes
And
to
then,
charity. Thank you.
oh, it doesn't. I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you look on the back of the box at Costco, you'll see where it goes to Robert Irvine Foundation. So we've just taken that money that you pay. We just took 105 veterans to Scotland to do a 54-mile hike called the Cadaran Yomp with Medal of Honor recipient Britt Slavinsky and 104 other from every branch veterans, 104 other veterans, all completed, by the way, 22, 38, or 54 miles for 4 days we buy a village, and that's what that does. Pays for them for that 4 days of going, and what it does is saves lives. Literally last year, 6. This year, I think we're going to save a lot more.
That's amazing. And I'm going to ask you a question that you probably don't get a lot. You get questions about everything you're doing. What does it mean to do this? Here's my question for you to end this with. What does it mean to you as a person to create these ripple effects and have these changes in people's life? And what does it do for you?
It makes me feel great. Makes me sleep good at night. I know they're making a difference.
Yeah. I think I can speak on behalf of like all veterans and people that you're helping make ripple effects in life. And just like, the person you still hold near and dear in your heart, like you remember those things. I can say thank you from the bottom of my heart and that you're making a change in the world. And the thing is that ripple effect will go past you. It'll live through generationals. And so thank you for your service that you did for your country as well as our country. And thank you for being on my show. Thank you.
I appreciate your service. I appreciate what you continue to do. And collectively, and I say this all the time, it doesn't cost money to help people.
Not a dime.
It means opening the car door, helping somebody across the road. Listening can save a life. If you can buy the food that goes through a cash register and you see it being pushed to the side, pay for it because it may be for a child that's not being fed. Our job in a position of and platform of power, which you have that microphone and I have my TV and I have my own platforms. If everybody did something for somebody they didn't know every day, our world would be an amazing place. We just don't have enough people doing that. They do it for people they care about. They just don't do it for others. And my statement would be, it's great, and I thank you for what everybody does out there, but do something different. Change it up. I'm not asking you, a stranger, money on the street, but buy a pair of socks, buy a meal, buy a coat, buy a sleeping bag. I don't care. Do something that you don't normally do because you'll feel completely different when you do.
Yes, you will. And again, you're not only an inspiration, but you're a great human being. And again, thank you for being on today. And look forward to hearing all of what you do in the future.
You're welcome.
Robert, thank you for not only your time today, but what you have spent the last 3 years doing that the press has not given you full credit for yet. The men and women in uniform who will eat better because of you do not know your name. They will live longer because you showed up. That counts more than most things that any of us do. Here is what I want everyone listening to walk away with. The healthcare system we are living inside of is downstream of food. Sick care versus caring for the human in front of you gets decided 3 times a day on a plate. Robert is fighting that fight at the institutional level, base by base, school by school, hospital by hospital. The fight you are picking is the one in your own kitchen, with your own body, with your own family. That fight is not separate from his. It is the same fight, scaled differently. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know I work with men in midlife who are starting to see the bill of decisions they made 20 years ago come due now. That bill is mostly a food bill. Robert has spent an hour telling you why. Pick one thing he said today and do it tomorrow. That is how this thing starts moving. Rate the show, leave a review, subscribe. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, every platform. And go follow Robert. His foundation does the work in the veteran community that almost no one else is doing. I'm Zac Armstrong, and this is No Hype, Just Standards.